Hi there, it's Anne of Rosie Duck Designs here. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I have to say that I did very nearly get distracted yet again. This time it was going to be a flamingo, but I've stuck with it and I am back to share a project using the Hey Chick stamp set. And what we're going to do today is put together a card very much like that one. The colour scheme is going to be a little bit different, but that is basically what I'm hoping that we're going to finish up with. So for the project that I'm going to share with you, I'm still using the Artistry Blooms Designer Series paper, but this time I've gone for the pinky purpley themed piece of the Designer Series paper, as opposed to the colours that I used on the card that I've just shared. So as usual, my base card is cut at 8 by 6, scored at 4 on the long side. That's 15 by 20 centimetres, scored at 10 on the long side. I've got two pieces of Designer Series paper, both cut at 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, 9.5 by 14.5 centimetres, and two pieces of white card, and they are cut at 3.5 by 5.5 or 9 by 14 centimetres. As usual, there will be a blog post to accompany this video, so don't worry about the measurements too much. We all know I have a habit of getting them wrong anyway, so the correct measurements will be on the blog post, so give that a look. I will put the link once it's written on the front of the video here, and you can also access even my blog from the top of my YouTube homepage. So let's put the card together. And for the sake of some form of continuity, I'm actually going to put the card together and then we'll go back and look at actually how we did the colouring. That's probably the way forward, because the tablet is likely to cut out, as we all know. So if I can get a bit of continuity in my videos, it's no bad thing. So famous last words and all that. So I'm going from the darker colour coming into the light. I'm going to be making this in the portrait style, so the lighter colour I'm just going to put at the top. No particular reason, I just think it's probably one of my OCD moments, if I'm being totally honest. So there's one on the front, and I'm going to put one on the inside just to brighten up the inside of the card as well. Obviously that isn't essential. However, I will be using some form of colouring on the chicks, so it could possibly seep through. So just for the sake of keeping my base card totally clean, by putting this extra layer on here, and then I'm going to put my white piece of card here with my message, it's just alleviating any problems of anything going through. It should be fine because I'm actually using Stampin' Up markers, not blends, but twofold thing, just to be careful, and also why not pretty the inside of the card up. There's probably a third reason as well, if I'm totally honest, and that is the fact that this Designer Series paper will be retiring very soon, and therefore I might as well use it up before it goes. So it's three good reasons. So there we are, that's the Designer Series paper added to the card. I'm going to do some stamping on that for the inside, and we're going to add our chickens and bits and pieces onto the front of this. So I have used all three of my chick dies and my chick stamps. So if you're watching this for the first time, this is my old Hey Chick stamp set, which came with my celebration back in 2017, hence the wooden blocks. If you order this now, it is a red rubber cling stamp, and you would need the acrylic blocks to put the stamps on. I just couldn't see the point in actually rebuying the whole thing when I'd got the stamp set, and effectively all I've got is wooden blocks, which so disregard those. So I've used all three of those, and I've used the coordinating chip dies, and there's lots of other really cool dies in here which I've used on another project which I'll be sharing with you at a later date. But I had a lot of fun playing with the hen house and the wire and the corn. It was great fun, time consuming but great fun. I'm also going to be using these two dies, so there's no stamps that coordinate with those. You've only got the dies, but they make a great addition to your cards. So let me put that back safely. There's lots of little dies in there that can easily get lost. So that effectively is what we're using, and I'm going to first of all put my chickens down. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to put the chicken on using some Stampin' Dimensional. It's one of those videos where probably a lot of time is going to be taken up removing backings from dimensionals, but has to be done. So I'm going to put him right on the corner here. Having said that, I think with the other one I actually put this on first. Let me do that first. There's no stamping going to go on the front here, so I in theory can't mess up. It's coming back to me now how I actually made the card. There we go. So I'm putting my front panel on. The reason being that I can then overlap very slightly the chicken onto the background of the designer series paper. There we go. So now I've got this chicken in place, I can actually add my details of the log and the notice board. Now currently there is this speciality paper, Natural Touch, which is this, which I'm hoping you can see. Let me just, yes, I think you can see that. Let me get the piece out. Sounds a bit like pass the parcel, doesn't it? There we go. Hopefully that's a little bit better. So it's actually very fine paper that's got this fabulous wood grain in it, and it's part of the Butterfly Brilliant Butterfly Bouquet bundle that is available at the moment. Unfortunately the designer series paper has sold out, but I believe as at filming the wood paper is still available, and I bought it actually just for projects like this. I could just see that natural wood texture being really good for particularly the chip dies, if I'm honest. I hadn't really thought beyond that, and I haven't used it with the butterflies, but there we go. So I've using a piece of the natural wood paper, and what I've done is I've just cut a small piece of the paper, and then on the back of that I've added one of our adhesive sheets to make it easy to stick down, and I've done the same here with the log. So I'm just going to hopefully get the back of this on. I'm using the adhesive sheets more and more, I'm finding, because it just makes it so much easier to stick down these sort of little fiddly bits that it would be impossible to actually get glue up on this bit here without it showing over the edges, and it just makes life easy, I have to say, a lot easier. So I'm going to do the same with the backing off of the notice board. I'm just going to stick that at an angle so it's going over the paper onto the design series paper very slightly, just to give it a little bit of jauntiness, I think is the word. So I'm going to take now my next chicken. Again, using some of the larger dimensionals. And I just want her or him to be basically standing on the back of this chick, and I'm going to put 1 foot underneath and then 1 foot on the top, just again at an angle, just to add to the fun, because you can't take a multicoloured chicken seriously, in all honesty, can you? I've got my favourite one here with the hair that looks very much like mine at the moment, and I'm going to put that one on with the smaller dimensionals. So much for continuity. I unfortunately had forgotten to delete the previous video, so the tablet just couldn't cope with that. So here we are again. I'm going to give this another go. So I'm in the middle of adding some stamping dimensionals to my final chick for the card, and again I want this one standing on the back of the chicken below. So let's just remove the backs of these. I'd like to say one day I will get the hang of this and I will shoot a flawless video, but it's you know, after all this time, it's seriously not going to happen, is it? So I'm just tucking that. It's again, I want this foot just on the back of this chick, so it really does look like it's standing there, and the way the die is cut, it's easy to just slip it underneath. So that bit's gone slightly underneath, and then we've got this front foot here, just on the top of the chicken. Again, at that sort of funny sort of an angle, just to give it that sort of feeling of fun. So I'm just going to add a little stamped message on here, and I'm just going to use one of the sentiments from the actual stamp set, and I'm going with "Have a happy day." Now, rather than use a stamp pad for this, I'm going to use the Stampin' Right markers, which I'm going to be using on the chickens themselves. So rather than, laziness probably on my part, but rather than get a stamp pad in just for one single stamp, I thought I've got Stampin' Right markers, let's just go with that. So I'm going to go with randomly, just maybe I should go with a darker one. Let's try that. Let's try and coordinate slightly. So I've got here a Stampin' Right marker, and it's Gorgeous Grape, and I'm going with the brush end. And all I'm doing is just running the end of the Stampin' Right marker just over the area of the sentiment. I have a spare piece of card, just breathing on that to reactivate the ink. Yeah, that's okay, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do just quickly, I'm going to take my very old paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim it down just so that I get the lines nice and straight, straighter than I could get them. I'm actually going to finish off using a pair of scissors. Now if you're better with scissors than I am, then by all means go for it straight away. But what I want it to do is I want it to fit into this area here. Now clearly that's still too big. I've got one already cut out over here, which would be quite a good guide. So I've got my scissors. I'm just going to trim second cut, and it's already wonky. As it's turning out, I'm not actually going to be using any of my straight lines, am I? So just ignore that bit, but there we go. I suppose I could have took it in slightly nearer, but what it has done, it's given me that smaller bit of card to work with, and it was at least a reasonably well shaped oblong to work with. I might just shave a tiny bit off of there. Okay. So there we can see it's going to fit in there. But we're not obviously using that one, we're using this one. So let me just put some glue on here. I'm just going to pop that in the middle. Just centralising it. There we go. So that's the front, and we just now got to do something with the middle. There's my other piece of white paper, or white card rather. I'm going to use this one. This lends itself to particularly having just half of the stamp. So I'm just going to grab, let's have some gorgeous grape. So each time you want the brush end of your Stampin' Up markers, so you can have some nice purple hair. As with the stamping blends, there is a mark on the barrel of the Stampin' Up markers to tell you which is the thin end and which is the thick end, so you don't have to randomly sit here and pull both ends off. It's just a pastime of mine, isn't it? So there we go, we've got the thin end up this end, the nib end and the brush end up here. So you need to just look out for that and then pull the relevant end off. But it's so much more fun. It's like lucky dip. What can I say? So there's no rhyme or reason for these colours. I've so far used Gorgeous Grape. This is Flirty Flamingo. Which one was this? Mango Melody. Let's just finish off with, I've got some Bermuda Bay going on here. So I'm only doing half of the chick because that's all I'm going to be stamping. And I'm just going to put him on the bottom of my piece of white card. Again, I'm going to put that in at an angle. And I'm going to put, of course, I'm going to put Wink of Stella on his hair, which is going to potentially depending on which colour you use, particularly the darker ones tend to blend even more so than the lighter ones. So he's actually going to finish up with a mop, a shiny mop of purple hair. And then I'm just going to put some glue on the back. And add that to the inside of my card. Now I'm just going to use this to write a message on, so I'm not going to bother with any other sentiment. Now if you wanted to, you could do the same thing in that corner. If you haven't got much to write in your card, that would be nice to add 2 chickens, but I'm going to stick with 1 on this one. So that is basically the card finished. Now you can, if you want to, bling it up a little bit with some of the Artistry Bloom sequins. I'm actually not sure that I actually want anything more on here, but you could put 1 in each corner if you wanted to. If I'd got more of the smaller ones, I might well do, because I could fit them on there. But I haven't really got any that particularly match, so I'm going to leave the sequins off of this one. I put sequins on the previous one, so if you look back at the front of the video you can see how that looked, but actually I think that will do. So that is the finished card. So just moving slightly backwards, as I said, I use the Speciality wood paper, but you don't need that. You can just use one of the different brown coloured papers that we have. So this is soft suede, so I've cut the notice board and the tree trunk out with that. I've also cut the tree trunk out using crumb cake, and that was quite effective as well. So not necessary to have the wood effect paper, but I just liked it. It was very different to anything we'd had before, so of course I had to have some. I had to try it, but that would work perfectly well using a standard brown coloured card. So I've no doubt given you already a clue of how I've coloured in my other chicks for the front of the card, and there's a whole recent YouTube video on different colouring methods for this particular stamp set, because it does lend itself particularly to different forms of colouring. However, we will just, in case you've not seen that and just want to see how I did the other ones, let's just grab the stamp set and start playing with a bit of colour. So I've got lots and lots of different random colours. I'm kind of in that the more colours the better syndrome, mood, whatever. So let's start with some red up here. If only I listened to my own advice on videos. There's something on the barrel that tells you what nib it is. Seriously. There we go. I think it's just the excitement of getting the pen, putting the ink on the stamp, that I just randomly forget that I should be paying attention to the actual pen that I'm using. And the great thing with this is that no one chick is going to be the same. Not unless you do it obviously in the same, completely in one colour, then it will be the same. But if you're going to do that, then seriously use an ink pad. Again, the trick is to breathe on it just to reactivate that ink, because the ink that you've put on obviously initially will be starting to dry, so just by that hot breath on it, it will reactivate it. This is probably my favourite one for adding colour to, because there's an awful lot of detail here in the chicken. So we'll start up here, we'll go with the Mango Melody. So we've got some Bermuda Bay going on there. And it doesn't matter if the colours overlap. Use this one so far. Give this one a go. This is Soft Sea Foam. Might be a little bit pale, but we'll find out when we put the stamp onto the card. So what haven't I used? So I don't think I've used the Highland Heather. Let's go with that. Finish it off. The Highland Heather. And there we go. So having done that, all I've then done is use my dies. And again, we've obviously used this one as well. I've placed my dies over the chicken, and then, although I'm using a magnetic plate on my particular die cut machine, just for safety's sake, so it doesn't move, all I've then done is put my piece of post-it note over the top, just to make sure that I hold the die in place as I then run it through my machine. And then I finish up with my cutout chickens that we've used on our card. So let me just clear the debris away. I will put all the details of all the products that I've used on the front of the video. As I say, there will be a accompanying blog post that will I will write so that you've got all your measurements. And I'm going to be back with another chicken card. I want to have a go at a simple easel card, and then I will, in the same video, share the stepped up version that I've had a lot of fun doing, but I may well do a video that I talk my way through it, but life's far too short for me to do a YouTube video actually putting it all together. But yeah, it's been a fun project. I've enjoyed doing it. So come back next time and I will share that with you. For now, thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, look after yourselves. If you've enjoyed my video, then a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated, and of course if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be absolutely brilliant. I'd love that. As I say, everything I've used will be in the blog post, but I will also put a link to my online shop on the front of the video if you can't wait for the blog post and want to head over there. I always find myself rambling at the end here, so I apologise, but I've just had this other thought that at the moment we are just about 3 weeks away from the launch of the new annual catalogue. So two things: if you're based in the UK, you don't currently have a demonstrator and you would like a copy of that catalogue, I'll be more than happy to send one to you. Please use the contact me link that you'll find in the blog post. And the other thing is that unfortunately we've got some great products in the new catalogue, and that's not the unfortunate bit, that's the good bit. But unfortunately, that does mean that other products have to retire to make room for the new ones. So there are some really, really good bargains to be had at the moment on the last chance product list. And again, you will find a link to that on the sidebar of my blog. So go and check that out, because there might be things that you've had your eye on and it really is the last chance to buy them. And as I say, many are at being offered at the moment at fabulous discounts. They are only on a while supplies last basis, so you know, don't miss out. Some have already sold out, so check that out when you get a chance. So that is it. I am going. Thank you so much, and I will see you again very soon. But until then, take care. I'll see you very soon. Bye.